Welcome live into episode 88 of the Under Review podcast. I am your host, Todd. As always, this week, Alabama shuffles. How far they fall back, how far does it really hurt them? Big matchup 2 weeks away from the Iron Bowl to determine if they go to the college football playoffs and even the SEC championship game. JSU had a big game this week inside AM First Stadium here in Jacksonville. Big win over Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State did fight back after the loss of their quarterback, but Jacksonville State does hold. And then Georgia, big breakout win against Texas, really shuts up Texas for about the whole game. But all that and more when we go under review.
Welcome to the Under Review podcast, where Saturdays mean everything. Rivalries run deep, and the SEC reigns supreme. Hosted by Todd and Marty, two die-hard fans breaking down every snap, storyline, and showdown across the Southeastern Conference. From the swamp to the plains, between the hedges to the bayou, no team is safe when it's under review. Now back to the action with Todd and Marty.
Alright, like I said, episode 88 brings us a lot to go over today. Marty is not here with me, as you can see. Little time difference here, but we're going to skip right into the AP Top 25. Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M, all part of the AP Top 25. That's something we go over here. Stay true, 1, 2, and 3. Texas A&M, or Georgia, jumps up to 4. Ole Miss to 5. Texas to 6. Oregon at 7. Oklahoma back in the top 10 at 8. And Notre Dame 9. And Alabama goes from AP top 4 to AP 10 after a loss to Oklahoma. BYU 11. Vanderbilt 12. Utah Utes 13. Miami 14. Georgia Tech 15. USC 16. Texas 17, Michigan 18, Virginia 19, Tennessee 20, James Madison 21, North Texas 22, Missouri 23, Tulane 24, and Houston 25. I think with this right here, I'm very surprised to see North Texas be back up here. Again, this is the AP, so this really doesn't mean as much. But this is what we go off of. We go off of it all year, so there's no point in changing it up. But North Texas, after a big win against UAB that we'll go over here in just a second, as they move back up into the upper echelons of the top 20, I would say. But here, three group of 5 sitting here, 21, 22, and 24. The better team, I want to say, out of these 3 teams is James Madison, but North Texas has been playing great. Surprised to see South Florida. They did fall out. I'm pretty sure they're like 26 or 27. And then Tulane. I like Tulane as well. So it could be these 3 teams keep swapping. I don't know if any of them will make it into the top 15, but again, this group of 5, it really doesn't matter. But I'd rather see James Madison at any of these 3 teams. I'd really like South Florida, but I think South Florida's process here is too deep to overcome. With a loss to Memphis a couple weeks ago, or I beat them. I don't remember. I can barely remember what I ate for breakfast this morning. But I think North Texas is a really good team, but I think James Madison is the best of these 3 teams. All right, now let's get to around the state. So kicking it off, Old Dominion absolutely shuts up Troy 33-0. Like I said, North Texas defeats UAB 53-24. Austin Peay was all way too much for Sanford 30-16. West Alabama with another loss goes to 5-4. The Riverhawks beat them 33-20. South Alabama with a big win, 26-14 over Louisiana Monroe. Alabama State almost shut out Mississippi Valley State, 41-3. Florida A&M holds off Alabama A&M, 26-23. And then Tarleton State absolutely runs over North Alabama, 61-0. Which, understandable, Tarleton State is the fifth-ranked team in FCS football. So I don't really understand. Get it, it's a conference game, but I don't think North Alabama should have been playing with them boys whatsoever. That leads us to 1-10 Samford, 3-7 South Alabama, 7-3 Jacksonville State, 8-2 Alabama State, 5-4 West Alabama. Their season is now complete. 2-9 North Alabama, 3-7 UAB, 4-7 Alabama A&M Bulldogs, and then 6-4 the Troy Trojans. All right, we're going to step aside and take a word from Tactical Home and Pest.
Hey, babe, we got ants.
Okay, kill them.
No, really, there's a lot of freaking ants.
Well, what do you want me to do? I ain't no expert.
Well, fine then. I'll call Tactical Home and Pest.
Go ahead and call Benjamin.
Hey there, this is Ben with Tactical Home and Pest, proud sponsor of Todd and Marty and their Under Review podcast. And can I just say that if the bugs I deal with had referees, I'd be called for targeting. Tactical Home and Pest, 256-592-2842, or visit me at tacticalhomeandpest.com.
Again, thank you to Benjamin Dominguez at Tactical Home and Pest for all your pest control needs. Just call him. Look him up on Facebook as well, Tactical Home and Pest. Alright, as we get into our SEC games this week. With buys from Auburn and Vanderbilt, luckily. What was the biggest comeback in FBS this season? Texas A&M 31 over South Carolina 30. A 27-point deficit. It was 30-3 at halftime. And Texas A&M comes all the way back. And what was a game to watch. If you missed it, I'm really sorry. But just a absolute beamer ball malfunction here for South Carolina is the best way I could put it. Didn't do anything to come out of halftime. Just looked flat. Lenoris looked flat. His brother looked flat. Everything was flat for this South Carolina offense, and helped Texas A&M's defense to get better in the second half, as Texas A&M wins it 31-30. And what was just probably one of the best games, best comebacks of the, like I said, biggest comeback of the year this season. And again, that we thought was going to be closer. The 10-0 Tennessee Tech Eagles went into Lexington, Kentucky to face the Wildcats, 42-10. Kentucky wins, and they covered very. Now, I say 10-0 Tennessee Tech. Yes, I said that the other day, but this team wasn't playing anybody good. Yeah, they beat Chattanooga. If you know Chattanooga football, they're not that good. So this was very confusing, as if this team actually could beat Tennessee. But Kentucky rolls 42-10. Cutter Boley was actually pretty good this game. Let me pull it up real quick. Should be up here. It is. Cutter Boley went 18 for 21, 236, and 1 touchdown. But again, it was more Seth McGowan, 17 carries, 72 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dante Dowdell, 13 carries, 87 yards, and 1 touchdown. Really didn't have to look for anybody. Kendrick Law had a big game, 11 catches, 124 yards, no touchdowns. But give it to Tennessee Tech, the Golden Eagles. You know, they come in undefeated, but they don't leave Lexington quite as they brought themselves here. 42-9, Tennessee dismantles the Aggies from New Mexico State. Again, this is something that we predicted very well. The Aggies don't really hold, the New Mexico State Aggies didn't really hold much accountable to an SEC, a decent SEC team, as we always been saying this year, as in the Tennessee Volunteers with Joey Aguilar, 17 for 23, 204, 1 touchdown. They also threw 2 interceptions. But again, you get Deshaun Bishop, 16 carries, 80 yards, 1 touchdown. Peyton Lewis, 10 carries, 42 yards, 1 touchdown. Aguilar had 3 for 34 and a touchdown. And then Star Thomas, the transfer, 5 for 30 with 1 touchdown. It's really all you needed here. I mean, I don't think this game was... this game might have been close until Tennessee scored their first touchdown at 7:54. But, you know, Tennessee rolls on and lives to fight another day. This one was close, back and forth for probably to about the fourth quarter. Inside the Grove at Ole Miss, 34 takes down Florida 24. Kawan Lazy had 3 rushing touchdowns. I do know that right offhand, or 2 rushing touchdowns. Had a big game. Yeah, 224 yards. But there's a run game that I'll get into later in this episode that actually beat his for this week. You know, Kawan Lacy did it on 31 carries. Trinidad Chambers 301, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. DJ Langway did start this game 16 for 31, 218, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jaden Bob 15 for 61, 1 touchdown. But like I said, this was the Kawan Lacy show with 224 yards and 3 touchdowns. As it was close, but the only points out of halftime that were scored were by the Ole Miss Rebels. And it was 14 points inside the fourth quarter as they just technically run away with it. Alright, we'll take this last sponsor break and take a word from Chuck's Heating and Air.
This episode of the Under Review podcast is brought to you by Chuck's Heating and Air. Chuck has over 40 years of service and experience with residential services. He services most makes and models. He is Alabama licensed, bonded, and insured, and locally owned and operated. Are you hot and you're supposed to be cool? Are you cool and you're supposed to be hot? Then you've got a problem. Call Chuck. Area code 256-892-2757. Again, 256-892-2757. Chuck's Heating and Air.
Chuck's Heating and Air, 256-892-2757. All right, let's get into our SEC games of the week here. The Battle of the Golden Boot, an SEC conference matchup between Arkansas and LSU. LSU, take care of business at home, 23-22. And what was a very close game, which surprised me, but it didn't surprise me at the same time. The way these two teams play this year is, you know, like I said, LSU is a better team than Arkansas, but should be one of the better teams inside the SEC. I've said it all year. So don't know what their malfunction is. Taylor Green, 11 for 19, 165. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His counterpart, Michael Van Buren, 21 for 31, 221, 1 touchdown. Caleb Dern on the rushing, 12 carries for 65, 1 touchdown. His counterpart, Mike Washington Jr., 13 for 85, 1 touchdown. Arkansas jumps up to an early lead in the first quarter, 14-0, and then South Carolina responds 16-14 before halftime, and then LSU was goose egg in the third, and then Arkansas goose egg in the fourth, which pretty much ends it for Arkansas there. Just a back and forth matchup. Looking at the defense, TJ Halsey, 8 tackles, 5 solos. Harold Perkins Jr., 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackle for losses. Flipping over to the Arkansas side, Caleb Wooden, 7 tackles, 5 solos, 1 touchdown. And that was off of a... beats me. I'll have to look that up. so I don't know how he scored a touchdown. Didn't watch this game, so I was watching another game during this time. Punt blocked. Okay, that's what opened the scoring. First play of the game. But again, this is a quote-unquote rivalry matchup for Texas. If I say that again. For Arkansas and LSU. God dang it. Oh, whatever. For Arkansas and LSU, it is the battle of the Golden Boot. LSU takes this one 23-22. Hit all the buttons. Oklahoma goes into Tuscaloosa 23-21 in favor of Boomer Sooners. All right, now let's get this started. You can say Alabama hits that field goal right before halftime. This game looks different, obviously, because they'll win. But there's something else going on in the kicking circle, I guess, between the kicker, the holder, and the snapper. So after the kick, if you recall, Connor Talty absolutely scolds his long snapper for this. But that was the last time the long snapper actually played in the game for kicks and whatever. So I don't know if it's a kick-in holder thing or if it's just a kicker problem or snapper problem. Who knows? But as long as it ain't a Cade Foster problem, if you Alabama fans and some Auburn fans remember, if it's a Cade Foster problem here in Alabama, this Talty kid will not be kicking much more kicks for Alabama. John Mateer, 15 for 23, 138. Not great numbers for him, but he got it done mostly because of his defense. There was 138 passing yards, 74 rushing yards for them. Flip it over to Alabama, 326 passing, 80 rushing yards. Again, no run game for Alabama, and that's what's hurt them all season. And it still comes back to bite them when Jam Miller goes 9 carries for 27 yards. That's it. Defensive stats. Kip Lewis, 7 total tackles, 7 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackle for losses. Excuse me. Eli Bowens, 5 tackles, 5 solos, 1 pick six. He did have the 87-yard pick six in the first or second quarter. Couldn't remember. I know it was early. But this team got 4 sacks on Alabama. Alabama only brings in 2 sacks. 3 fumbles, 2 losses, and then the interceptions. So +3 turnover margin for Oklahoma. So what does this mean for Alabama? They lose this big game. They dropped they dropped to 10th in the AP poll. Won't know when they come out with the college football rankings how far they actually dropped them, if any, because we know the bias with Alabama, and I can say that because it's just me talking today. And but who knows? I think this is a big matchup. It's a big loss for Alabama because now play Eastern Illinois next week. Probably going to beat them by 70. Just because, same way of the FSU loss earlier in the season. But then the week after that, you turn around and then you play inside Jordan Hare against the Auburn Tigers, who are in a win situation to make a bowl. That's scary. If I was an Alabama fan, I think it's scary for both teams. It's the chance for Auburn to, win this game, you're bowl eligible, and you stop Alabama from making the SEC championship and the college football playoffs. If you're Alabama, you're thinking on the lines of, we win, we're in the SEC championship game and probably in the playoffs, and little brother don't make a bowl. So, see how you want it, but I think 2 weeks just got much more on the line than it had beforehand. Alright, this is the game I was talking about earlier. Kawan Lacey had that big game, 224 yards. But let's go to Missouri. Mississippi State was no match for the Missouri Tigers, 49-27, as Missouri wins. Based off of everything, the reason they lost was because the SEC leading rusher in Ahmad Hardy ran for 300 yards even. And that's 300 yards on 25 carries and 3 touchdowns. Matt Zollers only went 8 for 15 for 112, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Only 4 receivers. Again, his big target is the senior Kevin Coleman Jr. One fumble by Hardy, and he loses it. Marvin Burks Jr., 12 tackles, 5 solos, 1 touchdown. Kalani Jacobs, 10 tackles, 6 solos. Flipping over to the other side of Mississippi State, Nick Mitchell, 6 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for losses on the defense. Flip Bothwell, 6 for 25. Davin Booth, 10 for 34. 110 total rushing yards, but they don't get nobody over 50 this game. Blake Shippen, 9 for 33 for 199 yards and 2 interceptions. Kamario Taylor, 4 for 5, 36 and 1 touchdown. Wasn't no match for this Missouri defense, really. And I say Missouri defense. Wasn't no match for Ahmad Hardy this game. Ahmad Hardy just come in and absolutely showed everybody that he is probably going to win the SEC Newcomer of the Year award. I think at the end of the season, he's played great football. Has over 1,300 rushing yards, I want to say now. Golly. Yep. 1,346 rushing yards. So, that does not lead the nation. It does. He officially passes Cam Cook from Jacksonville State by a little over 33 yards. So, Ahmad Hardy, the SEC the nation leading rusher going into next week. And then speaking of Cam Cook and that Jacksonville State offense, the Conference USA Interstate Game of the Week, which held at Jacksonville State 35, Kennesaw State 26. Jacksonville State played great football. Not Cam. I can't think of his name. Bo's little brother. Let's see here. I'll find it. I'll pull it up. Caleb Nix. Caleb Nix had 2 interceptions, 26 yards. Also 11 tackles, 8 solos. Was a big key part on that defense. Gavin Winsmith did come in for the last play before halftime and threw a 62-yard bomb Hail Mary inside the end zone for a touchdown, which was tipped and caught by DeAndre Johnson. He only had 2 catches, 112 yards. But it was, if you always know, hey, if you're a defensive backs coach, you always want to make that big play. But at the end of a quarter or a game or something, you want to tell your guys to swat it down. They bat it up, try to go for an interception, and DeAndre Johnson catches it on the tip, runs around the defender, and gets inside the end zone. Amari Odom went 19 for 31, 248, 3 interceptions, which helps the Gamecocks. Then on his departure was Dexter Williams, the second, 8 for 13, 114, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 4 total interceptions by the Owls this game. And Cam Cook, 27 carries, 132 yards, 1 touchdown. Quarterback Caden Krill, 14 carries, 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. 252 total rushing yards for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks this game. 199 total passing yards. So Jacksonville State, 2 more games left in their season. I know one of them is against Western Kentucky, who looms in that, I want to say that second now. Looms in that second position. So, again, I say if they can, how it goes, they play Florida International this week and then Western Kentucky. If they beat Western Kentucky, I think it's going to move back Kennesaw State if Kennesaw State don't lose to Missouri State in a couple weeks. So keep an eye on that Conference USA matchup moving forward. All right, this week's SEC Under Review podcast, game of the week was held in Sanford Stadium as the Bulldogs take down Tennessee 35-10. I think this was all Georgia all day long in this game. And, from watching from the very beginning, yes, Texas did come out and they kicked a field goal. I want to say was the first, kick a field goal. And, people at home, you're thinking, what else is new for Georgia? They go down, somebody scores, first drive of the day. Happens every week. But what happened in this game was I saw more of Gunnar Stockton doing what his successors have done before him. 24 for 29, 229, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. To me, that's Georgia football. Yes, you've had the Todd Gurleys and the Meltons throughout the years, and the Cooks. I think it's the quarterback slinging the ball around. London Humphreys, 2 catches, 55 yards, 1 touchdown. Zachariah Branch, 6 catches, 41 yards. Oscar Delp, 3 catches, 36 yards. Nate Thomas, 2 touchdowns, 4 catches on 32 yards. Chauncey Bowens, who did get hurt this game, 3 catches, 22 yards. Dylan Bell, 2 for 20. Cash Jones, 3 for 17. And then Lawson Lucky, 1 for 6 for 1 touchdown. Passing everywhere. Nate Frazier, 72 rushing yards. And we'll talk about a little bit of Georgia's defense here. Dalen Everton, 5 tackles, 3 solos. Chris Cole, 7 tackles, 4 solos, and 1 tackle for loss. Let's flip over to Texas. 27 for 43 for Arch, 251, 1 tackle, 1 interception. Wisner. Here's the problem with Texas this game. 23 total rushing yards. And again, Texas is not that great of a team this year, but 23 total yards on this Georgia team, which Georgia, they sat down and they wanted to make plays. But 37 rushing yards from Wisner, but negative 17 rushing yards for Arch Manning, which hurt him. DeAndre Moore, 5 for 75. Emmett Mosley, 3 for 66. And then Ryan Wingo went 9 for 62 with a touchdown. Arch Manning had a fumble, but it was picked up. And then Michael Tefe, or whatever his name is, 7 tackles, 3 solos. And then to Anthony Smith, 9 tackles, 6 solos, 1 sack, and 2 tackles for losses. Georgia prevails. And Georgia's going to need all the help they get closer into the season, as it's going to be more of defending your turf pretty much. Georgia has Charlotte this week. It's a big one. So they are done with the SEC. So if we look at their rankings inside the SEC, as of right now, if it would end, Texas A&M, Georgia. Okay, so Georgia is done playing. But the bad part about it is Ole Miss and Alabama are not. They still got one more game. Ole Miss is off next week, then they play Mississippi State. Alabama has Eastern Illinois, then they play Auburn. So, if Alabama wins, Alabama does have the tiebreaker against Georgia. But Ole Miss is sitting here, 10-1, only lost to Georgia. So remember that. I think it's them 4 teams on the line. I think Texas A&M has closed the spot. They're in. They got one more game. It's against Texas. I don't think it matter. I think Texas A&M has locked their spot in for the SEC championship game. It's going to be who they play. Is it going to be Georgia? Is it going to be Ole Miss? Or is it going to be Alabama? We'll talk about that more next time on Tuesday when we go live, when Marty's here. I don't know who we have that show, guest-wise, but you'll have to join in on Facebook and find out with us. Sorry. But that's all I got for you today. Like I said, this is episode 88 of the Under Review podcast. God loves you and we love you here, and make sure you tune in next Tuesday and see what we got to say about the upcoming SEC championship game. Thank you.